It's Missing Real with Mike Darrigo.
Here's to 5 miserable months on the wagon and all the irreparable harm that it's caused me. Yeah, I'm drinking on the job. Sorry about that. But believe me, it's light stuff. Mike's Hard Lemonade. Hey, I'm back. It's Missing Real, another episode. Finally, it's been a while. Been away, but now I'm back. I'm doing one of the most iconic and awesome horror movies of the 80s, or of the beginning of the 80s. And of course, this would be Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. You all know this movie, and you also probably know it's a Stephen King book from 1977, and King himself wasn't too fond of what Kubrick did in his movie adaptation, but we'll get all into that pretty soon. Hopefully all you guys love this movie like I do. You've seen it zillions of times, you know all the ins and outs, and I can still hopefully bring some new insights or laughs out of it, if there are any laughs. But, it's a scary movie. It's creepy. It's really unforgettable, due to its locations and its imagery. It's fantastic, man. To this day, I still want to visit all of the sets or locations, and it's baffling because this movie was shot and inspired by so many different locations that you really can't go to where you've actually seen in the film itself, because it's like, I think it's a set, but the exterior of this movie was shot the Timberline Lodge in Oregon, and the inside was inspired by the Ahwahnee Hotel in Yosemite, or near Yosemite National Park, and the actual hotel that King was inspired by, and then later was used for the 1997 television version of The Shining, was the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. So it's really quite baffling and confusing, and it pisses off geeks like me who want to go visit all these film locations, because again, unless you were there on the set with Kubrick, you probably won't ever be standing in the Overlook Hotel as the movie depicts it. So, oh well, sorry. But anyway, getting on with the whole talk about the movie, and Stanley Kubrick, the director, who had previously brought us such epics as Spartacus and 2001, Clockwork Orange, he came about to do this King adaptation, and, took his own liberties with it and made it amazing, and King's issues are, dispensable as far as I'm concerned. King didn't like the fact that the film was too cold, and that the main character, Jack, is basically bonkers from the get-go, and his wife, Wendy, is a little more than a scream machine, and yeah, that part's kind of true. But we still love The Shining. It's creepy right from the outset. We'll begin as the movie opens. The first time I saw it was probably on video, and it was on a TV, and, all TVs were square back then. I don't want to, date myself or give away my age, but I had a square TV, so the image, in fact, was shot and intended to be shown on a square TV. So there are widescreen versions of The Shining now, and you could see more stuff, but it's not like a pan and scan. And I think it's like, I'll talk about this later, but when Jack is chopping down the door, the camera kind of swings back and forth with the axe, and I thought that was some crappy pan and scan business, but actually I think that's how it's really shot. There's just less room to move back and forth on that small square frame thingy. But all right, it starts off with this kind of ominous music, and the music is composed by Wendy Carlos. Now, here's an interesting fact I wasn't aware of. Wendy Carlos was born Walter Carlos, and in 1979 was one of the first people to announce their gender reassignment. These days we have some modern equivalent of that, the Wachowski brothers, who became the Wachowski sisters. They brought us the Matrix trilogy, or it's about to be a quadrilogy, I think, and that's pretty awesome. The Wachowskis, whatever gender they are, brought us some amazingness, and it's great. But Wendy Carlos previously composed the score for Clockwork Orange, and later on would do the soundtrack for Tron, or maybe it should have been Tran. I don't know, bad joke. So yeah, music is cool and creepy. And it opens up the film with some pretty awesome aerial shots of the Colorado Rockies. And there's like so much awesome footage that they couldn't use it all. And the leftover awesome footage was actually used as the happy ending of Blade Runner. Pretty cool scenery anyway, but, it was leftover Shining stuff that made it into Blade Runner. And of course, there will be multiple Blade Runner connections, as it seems with almost every film these days. It always ties back into Blade Runner somehow, which is not a bad thing. So The Shining. One of the main draws of this film is probably Jack Nicholson. If you're a fan, Jack is just Jack. Whatever he does, it's Jack all the way. The Joker, it's just Jack with makeup. But yeah, in The Shining, he's essentially kind of like freaking weird right from the first scene, his interview and hearing what happened at the hotel previously when he takes on this job. He wants to be the caretaker for the winter and get some writing done because he's a writer and he's kind of struggling to support his wife and kid. So he's at the interview and they tell him, that the previous caretaker had gone crazy, maybe from cabin fever, and chopped up his family with an axe. Of course, Jack will say in the interview, well, I can assure you that's not going to happen with me. Oh, but one question, where do you keep your axes? I'm joking, of course. No, but he passes the interview, he gets the job, and waiting at home or nearby, to see if all's well, is his wife, Wendy, played by Shelley Duvall. Now, she's pretty much the biggest horror element of this film for me because, she's kind of I don't know what it is. She wasn't necessarily a bad-looking woman, but in this film, she's not very easy on the eyes. First of all, her wardrobe is horrendous, and she looks like she hasn't slept or conditioned her hair in weeks. So it's kind of right there, it's kind of throwing me off course of just getting into this film here. Just what's with this wife here? And the kid's okay, the little kid played by Danny Lloyd talks to his finger a little bit,
This is my friend Tony. Tells me all these secret things.
So his little imaginary friend Tony gives him these visions and stuff because the kid has the Shining. So he's getting these visions of the hotel, and Tony's warning him not to go there. He sees these elevators at the end of the hall, and then suddenly blood starts pouring out of the elevators and coming out in slow motion and flooding the entire hallway. Gush, blood everywhere. He should just call his dad and say, yo, Dad, you really shouldn't take this caretaker job. You're never going to clean that up. Not enough mops in the whole hotel. Probably need a hose and a fire hydrant, maybe a whole fire truck drive into the lobby. Anyway, it's disgusting but cool, unforgettable, iconic imagery. So awesome. But, they're going to the hotel anyway. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a movie, would we? So they're driving there. Shelley Duvall's kind of asking about the Donner Party, getting stranded out there at some point. And Danny's inquisitive,
what was the Donner Party?
And Jack's tells him they had to resort to cannibalism in order to stay alive.
You mean they ate each other up?
They had to in order to survive.
Jack! It's alright, Mom. I saw it on TV.
See? It's alright. Saw it on the television. The other day I popped in the Green Inferno and the kid is scarred for life. Anyway, they finally get there, and they're getting the tour before the whole staff goes home and leaves them stranded there with all the ghosts and shit. So the most important character that works at the hotel is the cook, Dick Halloran, played by Scatman Crothers. Now, you might know Scatman Crothers as the voice of Hong Kong Phooey in the cartoons, and he also happened to be in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson. Little trivia there. Scatman was a nickname that came about because he really did scat. He was a musician. He was in a lot of bands, and he would scat. And then he gets alone with Danny, he's talking about all the stuff, the food they have, and, got 15 kinds of cereal. Got Post Toasties, Rice Krispies, and how'd you like some ice cream, Doc? Gets the kid, gives him ice cream, he's talking, and Danny knows something's wrong with his hotel. And he asks him about room 237. And Scatman goes, there's nothing in room 237. So you better keep your nosy little kid ass out of there. You hear me? Stay out. Yeah, so Scatman's got the shine too. He confides in the kid. He's his psychic friend now. And he leaves, and everyone leaves. The family is left alone there in the hotel, and You know, the kid's already a little creeped out, so those spooky little twin girls in the game room. He doesn't tell his parents nothing, though, you know, because it's all just kid shit between him and his finger. No one's going to believe him anyway, or they're just going to think he's nuts. The winter starts rolling in. They're just making themselves at home here at the hotel, and Danny likes to ride around his little big wheel bike. And here's one of the coolest things about The Shining. The photography, the camera work, man, it's the steady cam. Following Danny around on his bike, it's like you're like right behind him and he's like rolling down the hallway. Over the carpets and stuff, turning the corners, and it's really a like dizzying, really fascinating perspective. So the Steadicam was invented by, and then in this film was actually, I think, operated by Garrett Brown, and his Steadicam work can be seen in movies like Rocky, you know, as you're following Stallone through Philadelphia and up the steps and all that. Return of the Jedi, when they're flying through the trees on the speeder bikes. The bullet perspective in Runaway. Probably a movie you might have seen, and I'll maybe do an episode on that. But you know, that was the guided bullets that Gene Simmons shoots at everybody. Yeah, whatever. Getting off topic. But yeah, the Steadicam is amazing. So those shots in the movie are just fascinating. Jack is, meanwhile, trying to get some writing done. He's typing, working on his shit. His wife comes in and annoys him all the time, and he starts getting pissed at her. It's like, Wendy, I'm going to explain something to you. Whenever you come in here and distracting me, it gives me time to get back to where I was. Now, make a new rule. Whenever you're in here and you hear me typing, whenever you don't hear me typing, whatever the fuck you hear me doing here, well, don't come in. You think you can handle that? He's into his work, you know? So it snows, and, you know, Jack is just staring out at the window, looking at them like, you know, he's already going mad. We don't know why, just because this place is haunted and it takes him over and whatever. So, yeah, there's more cool shots of Danny going down the hallway with his bike, and he runs into these twin girls at this end of this really creepy, narrow hallway. It's like, it's freaking scary. I love it. And then he sees them all chopped up and everything. And then there's the room 237 business. You know, he's like playing outside the room because he didn't go in yet. You know, he avoids it. He's still scared. But while he's playing around, a ball rolls into frame while he's playing. Scary. And he sees the door is open. He's going in there. So there's some really scary shit going on. In the King book, you know, there's some of this stuff is there, but probably the thing that was supposed to be the scariest thing in the King book, which isn't in Kubrick's film, is the garden topiary animals. Yeah, these hedge animals that I guess they move when you're not looking or whatever. And it's like real scary. I mean, you could just get some hedge clippers and that's it, get rid of those fuckers. But they're not in Kubrick's movie. You know, Kubrick substitutes something cool with the hedges, but it's a hedge maze. You know, they're running around through the maze one day before the snow comes. It's nice. It's really iconic. That hedge maze, I think that was probably some other location somewhere, but I'm probably just going to go find any damn hedge maze I can and just run around in there and get lost, hopefully in the middle of a blizzard, and play Shining with myself. You know, it's fun. But yeah, Jack is slowly going mad. And when Wendy finds out that Danny was presumably choked, or someone tried to choke him, and he got these bruises on his neck because he went into room 237 and there was this creepy ghost lady in there. But she, of course, accuses Jack because there's no one else in the hotel, right? You did this to him, didn't you? You son of a bitch. And Jack's like these incredulous faces, but he didn't touch the kid. In the past, he touched the kid with his drinking, and he yanked him and whatever. So he goes to this big deserted ballroom, all pissed off, and sits down at the bar that has no booze. It's completely empty and vacant, and, you know, he's a recovering alcoholic. God, I'd give anything for a drink. I'd give my goddamn soul. Just a glass of beer. And he looks up, and he starts talking to somebody. And you just see Jack's face, but boom, behind the bar, all of a sudden, Lloyd the bartender, played by Joe Turkel. Hey, he's familiar, isn't he? Isn't that Dr. Tyrell from Blade Runner? Yes, it is. What'd it be, Mr. Torrance? Glad you asked me that, Lloyd. Pours him some bourbon. How are things going, Mr. Torrance? Things could be better, Lloyd. Things could be a whole lot better. Just a problem with the old sperm bank upstairs. Nothing I can't handle with an axe. Women can't live with them, can't live without them. I'm glad you said that, Lloyd. Now, tell me, what would you think the possibility of a woman with no emotional responses and maybe 4-year lifespan. How would that be? An intriguing idea, Mr. Torrance. I might look into it. You should do that, Lloyd, my man. You're destined for greater things than pouring drinks and opening bottles. Perhaps you're right, Mr. Torrance. So he's here, hanging out, and his reverie is disturbed by a hysterical Wendy. Are you out of your fucking mind? Of course, when she shows up, all the booze disappears, Lloyd disappears. It's all as it was. So we don't even know if this is just like ghost booze or real booze, but he seems completely sober and serene and straight and sensible. So, he's going to go investigate what happened in this room where Danny went. But now, before we carry on with The Shining, I'm sorry, we have to pause for this brief word from one of our sponsors. We'll be right back. You only have one life. If you value it, listen to Missing Real Podcast. Hey, it's a kind of magic. Missing Real Podcast with Mike Darrigo. One listen, and you'll swear the sensation you're feeling is the quickening. Available wherever podcasts are available. May cause indifference or dementia. Please consult a doctor before listening. And now we return to our regularly scheduled podcast, Missing Real with Mike Darrigo. Hi, I'm back. Sorry about that, but, we need support from sponsors to keep this thing going, But thanks for your patience. We're back to The Shining now. And Jack was about to go investigate room 237, see what's up. And Danny, meanwhile, is psychically reaching out to Halloran to tell him, shit's fucked up over here. Please come help. And he will. He makes some phone calls and stuff. And Jack goes into the room, and it's like a big, lavish hotel room, and he looks in the bathroom where supposedly this weird lady was. And behind the curtain of the bathtub, pulling back, there's a naked lady. She's tall, and she's not half bad looking, honestly. So, she steps out. Jack is like mesmerized, standing there, grins, starts creeping up to his face, and grabbing and hugging him. They start making out. And then he looks in the mirror and he sees her rotted, green, disgusting, decomposing back. And she's like a saggy, haggy old lady. Or maybe she always was in the first place. It's probably just the booze wearing off. Anyhow, Jack gets the fuck out of Dodge, runs, but then he comes back to the wife and it's like, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing in there. So, Danny must have hallucinated, and I think maybe he did it to himself. And Wendy's all fucked up and scared. Earlier she was trying the CB, but now that the snow's come, you can't use the CB. But she tried it out before, she calls up, "This is KDK12 calling KDK1. Over." "Hello, ma'am. It's KDK1. May I help you?" "Well, we're at the Overlook Hotel taking care of it, and our phone lines are down. Over." "Well, the phone lines are down possibly because they're buried under 20 feet of snow, miss. Over." "Wow, this storm's really something, isn't it? Over." "Lady, you are tying up an emergency frequency used for emergency situations, so I suggest you hang the fuck up and wait till somebody invents the internet. Over and out." So yeah, but she liked using the CBs. But after Jack comes back and starts going a little bit crazier, and then, Dick Halloran is trying to get in contact with everybody, so they're calling back. Jack pulls all the circuits and crap out of the CBs, and he disconnects the router and everything else that they don't have yet in 1980. So that's it, they're cut off. And he's going crazy, I'm saying. So now, Wendy's all concerned about the kid, and she wants to get him out of the hotel because he's going nuts, and Jack just ain't having it, man. He's like, "I have let you fuck up my life so far, but I am not going to let you fuck this up." Gets all pissed and starts throwing shit, goes back to the ballroom, and now it's hopping. Now there's a party going on, and Lloyd is there and gives him more drinks and talks to him, but then he starts trotting off to the bathroom or whatever, and he gets some shit spilled on him by one of the waiters, and made a mess of your jacket. So he goes into the bathroom and talks to this guy who's trying to wipe off this avocado from his vest, the jacket. Like, I don't even know what the hell avocado is, but I never had it as garnish in my drinks. But yeah, he's talking to this guy in the bathroom, and this is tall, bold, British kind of dude, and "I've seen you before, Jeezy." "Grady, sir, that was Grady." "Mr. Grady, weren't you the caretaker here?
No, sir, I don't believe so, sir.
Mr. Grady, weren't you the priest in Flash Gordon who tried to marry Ming and Dale?
I have no recollection of that, sir, not at all.
How about Indiana Jones, one of those? Were you some British Army guy and...
Yes, I have absolutely no recollection of such nonsense in my life.
Mr. Grady, are you lying to me?
No, sir, I swear. This is the truth.
You can't handle the truth. I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from.
You're the caretaker here, sir. You've always been the caretaker.
Jack doesn't know what the fuck's going on, but anyway, Grady gives him some advice.
Your wife and child are attempting to bring an outside party into this situation, and you should deal with them, sir. A good talking to, if I may be so bold.
Alright, just come to the point. You want me to chop them up into little pieces, right?
No, that would do, yes. Would do quite nicely, in fact.
Okay, I'm on it. Thanks, Jeevesy. But, take this jacket to the dry cleaners, would you please? It's my favorite one. Corduroy. Yeah, so, Jack is ready to start chopping away at some point real soon. But in the meantime, Wendy's wandering around and she's a little bit apprehensive. She thinks her husband's dangerous. So she goes into the big room where he's been doing all of his typing and work, and she's trying to check out what's in this manuscript he'd been working on for like the past month or two. And she starts like flipping through the pages. And every page says the same shit over and over and over again. Yes. All work and no play makes Jack a boy. I mean, that's a good line, but if it's repeated on every single page of a damn novel, you must be insane. So as she's looking at this shit, and like, every single page. How do you like it? Scares the shit out of her. How do you like it? It's not that good. The ending sucks. Nah, that's King influencing me, I guess. What are you doing here? I just wanted to talk to you. Okay, let's talk. What do you want to talk about? Maybe it's about Danny. Maybe it's about him. So yeah, he's stalking her through the room. She's backing up, and she's got a baseball bat in her hand. She's all nervous and shit. You had your whole fucking life to think things over. What good's a few minutes more gonna do now? Swinging the bat. Stop swinging the bat.
Wanda, give me the bat. Give me the...
Oh, goddamn. Down the stairs. So this scene, as intense as it was, it's like all one long take, Stanley Kubrick was such a maniac of a director that he had them do like 100+ takes of this scene with Shelley Duvall backing up, swinging his bat for the whole damn shit. By the time she was done shooting this scene, she probably had a better batting record than Ty Cobb. But anyway, so, Jack is like dragged into the pantry and locked in. And, when he finally wakes up and Wendy's talking to him like, I'm gonna go now. Wendy. Wendy. You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere. Go check out the Snowcat and the CB. You see what I mean? So he sabotaged everything so she can't leave. And while she's like just hanging out with Danny, watching the damn cartoons, Grady shows up. We hear him, so I guess he's there. And
your wife seems to have gotten the better of you.
Oh, yeah? Well, let me out of here and we'll see what I can do. And then meanwhile, Danny starts writing Red Ram on the wall. And finally, when he finishes writing it, Red Ram, wakes up his mom, and as soon as she wakes up and reads it in the mirror, it says murder. That's when Jack's like, starts chopping down the door with an axe, and he finally gets through, and here's Johnny. Scares the shit out of them, but Wendy's in the bathroom. She shoves Danny out the window, and he slides down the mound of snow. Looks like a whole lot of fun, but she can't fit. So just as Jack is about to get in there and chops his way through the door, here's an engine outside, and it's Halloran, who just happened to manage to get his ass all the way there from Florida and then get in a snowcat and drive through the snow. And what a hero, right? So Scatman's back. Hey, hello, anybody here? So he walks down the lobby, and at the end of the lobby, meets Jack and an axe, and adios, Scatman. He's dead. So that's it. Jack kills him. Danny was hiding. He screams because he knows that Halloran's dead. He runs out into the snowy maze, the hedge maze. Now, this is like an awesome, iconic part of the movie. And of course, King, what's his problem, man? King doesn't like the hedge maze ending of the movie? Shit, man, if we had a King scripted screenplay, it would probably be a hedge fund or something exciting like that. The end of King's book is just like the boiler blows up or some shit, and, Jack forgets to set the valves, and that's the end of that. But no, the hedge maze is incredible, man. Great. You see the cinematography again. It's creepy, the music, and Danny figures out a way to outsmart his dad by backing out of the tracks. Meanwhile, Shelley Duvall's running all over the hotel, scaring the shit out of herself, running into every ghost there is, and checking every single place that Danny isn't. There's a whole room full of skeletons with cobwebs growing all over them. They're probably all the extras waiting for the shoot to be over. The Kubricks finally done. So Jack gets lost in the maze, probably too much bourbon and the concussion from the bat. He's just like stumbled. He could have just chopped his way out, maybe, right? Just cut down those hedges, but he freezes to death. Danny gets out and they go off and they live. And, then there's this photo zoomed in on, and it's like this 1921 photo, and you see Jack smiling right in the front of the picture. So,
"You are the caretaker here, Mr. Torrance. I fucking told you. Who can't handle the truth now?"
So yeah, that's the end of the movie, man, and fucking, it's great, man. I don't know, it's unforgettable. It's great, it's perfect, it's cool, it's very long, but, it captures you. The atmosphere just drags you in there, and it's an experience, man. That's why I keep watching this film over and over and over again. And over the years, it's had its impact, it's had its influence. There was a couple of songs inspired by The Shining, some mostly metal groups like, Lizzie Borden, our original, with the axe. And there was a really decent Black Sabbath song called The Shining, and most of you probably don't even know it because, well, the lineup of Sabbath at this time had not an Ozzy or Dio in sight. It was Tony Martin, another Tony here, but good singers, check it out, and any Sabbath album is pretty damn good. And years later, Steven Spielberg would pay some tribute to it by doing this whole Shining sequence in Ready Player One, which is like pretty awesome. And you see the whole Overlook environment and cool things happening. It's like a over-the-top nightmare taking place in the Overlook. What else happened? Well, in 1997, there was a television mini-series of The Shining directed by Mick Garris, who does lots and lots of King stuff. It's all pretty good. What can I say about this? It's closer to the book, and I think King had a hand in the screenplay, perhaps, but it all went the way King would have liked, I suppose, the way he would have liked Kubricks to be. But my problems with this movie are the lead is played by Steven Weber. Steven Weber, well, maybe not as over-the-top as Jack. How terrifying can he be? His previous film and TV roles, like Wings, Jeffrey... Yeah, he didn't work for me. He didn't scare me. He was in a lot of other King adaptations later on, like Desperation and a Nightmares and Dreamscapes episode. And the kid, playing Danny, is just this little Tweety bird kid I just couldn't stand, man. And it's like, he sounded like he's like perpetually stuffy nose, and man, just could not stand this freaking kid at all. And they used the topiary animals with really bad CG, and they weren't even scary, and nothing even happens with them. The one saving grace of this movie is that the wife, a vast improvement in my opinion, played by Rebecca De Mornay. Now, hey, comparing this to Shelley Duvall, right? Who would you rather be holed up in an isolated hotel for months with? Would you rather be with the hooker from Risky Business or Olive Oil from fucking Popeye? I'd rather fornicate with a can of spinach. Well, anyhow, there's more Shining shit. King wrote a sequel to The Shining, his own Shining, of course, Dr. Sleep, a few years back. And now, this year, it was just made into a film, and I read the book and watched the movie, and as usual, the book had a pretty lame ending, and the movie sort of like punched it up quite a bit. And the cool thing about the movie is that it does a lot of stuff related to the Kubrick Overlook Hotel. The scenes are like recreated and stuff happens, and some of the ghost creatures are in the movie. So, Dr. Sleep as a film, pretty damn good. I liked it a lot. It's got Ewan McGregor. And my other favorite thing about it is it features another hot Rebecca Ferguson, Swedish actress, who you'll soon be seeing in the remake of Dune in 2020. But anyway, this Rebecca Ferguson chick, she's in some of those Mission Impossible movies, kicking a lot of ass. and she's drop dead gorgeous. I mean, she plays like this sexy, psychic, Irish gypsy, vaping vampire. So she's very enjoyable in the movie. And a couple of other cool surprises in Dr. Sleep. Henry Thomas, kid from E.T., is appearing briefly as Jack/Lloyd the bartender in one scene. Very cool. And the original kid from the original Shining, Danny Lloyd, has a cameo. I barely even noticed it, but like after I saw the credits and read about it, like, whoa, I gotta watch this again. So he's watching a baseball game and probably talking to his finger. Like, that was a foul. Anyways, yeah. There was no actual Jack Nicholson in the movie because he's retired, and unless they're going to shoot a movie about Lakers fans watching a game, he won't be on a big screen again anytime soon. But he gave us one of his most iconic roles of all time, unforgettable, quotable, and just awesome. I think that's all I got to say about The Shining right now. I mean, what is it with King and endings anyway? Like every single book he writes is like so epic. It's this massive build-up, and you're expecting such a payoff at the end, and you get bupkis. You get almost every single book, man. He just doesn't deliver a powerful ending. It's kind of like reaching the end of a King book is the literary equivalent of blue balls. And I'm tired of it, man. You read like 1,400 pages, and you finally get to the big climax, and it's nothing. King, you can do better. I know you can. You've been at it for decades. Come on, man. Frank Darabont knew what to do with The Mist, which is a great story, epic, terrifying, unforgettable. And then King's story, just ends, whatever. But in Darabont's movie adaptation, you get a sledgehammer of an ending that you will not forget. And I'm sure King was impressed with it too, even if he was secretly jealous. So yeah, that's what we need. More of that. Come on, King. I know you can do it. So I hope you all shine on, and we'll be back again soon with another Missing Real episode. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope the ending was satisfying. I hope that when it's all over, all you got to say is, great party, isn't it? Thank you for listening. Later, folks. See you next time.